Hello and welcome, you crazy people. My name is Jay, and today I want to talk about Kill Team and essentially the new expansion that has been announced. And well, basically, I want to ask the question: does Games Workshop even have a plan for Kill Team? It sort of feels like it's done and dusted, and they're moving on, but they don't want to just completely like throw all the players into the trash. So they're like, "We'll tease you with this little thing." At least from the outside, that's what it looks like. So, I'll show you the news and then we'll talk about what it means. So, I'm right at the bottom here, but let's scroll to the top. Essentially, the game is going to have a new expansion. It says next expansion. Now, from what I could be wrong about the dates, but I think Elites was probably like a year and a half ago. Then it probably got an annual last Christmas, basically, so the end of 2019. There's not been a Kill Team annual this year, as far as I'm aware, and now they're saying that this will be an expansion. Now, we had a little bit of a teaser talking about the Necrons and the Space Marines, but we weren't sure what it was. Some people were speculating it was going to be Kill Team 2.0, like a second edition. That appears to not be the case. They say here it's going to be a next expansion, so that puts it in the category of Commanders, Elite, and Arena, which were all released, I think, within like a year of the game coming out, and then there's been nothing for a while. Well, nothing of any notable value. And what this is, from what I can tell, yes, you're going to get rule for some of the stuff that's in Indomitus box, and it's talking about the Assault Intercessors, Necron Warriors, all fine. New rules for that. But basically, every model from the Indomitus box set will be getting brand new rules. Now, I don't know if that's the full extent of this expansion, but if that is the full extent of the expansion, that would be a pretty poor excuse for an expansion, because essentially that kind of stuff has typically been in like White Dwarfs and stuff like that. Maybe not at this scale, but it feels like maybe they could have done a book that just had that in, right? Maybe it is just a book. I think Commanders was just a book, basically. Now, one thing that interests me is I think it might just be a book, because here they say, if you're looking forward to these upcoming units, then grab the box of these units. Now, I don't think you'd say that if you were going to bundle the units together and sell them. So it seems like it's just going to be a book of rules for things from the Indomitus box set. Now, will it be something more substantial than that? We'll have to wait and see. So that's all we know. Like, we don't know anymore. The video could be over. But I want to talk about basically what Kill Team is, the purpose of Kill Team, why it exists, and is there any point to it? Do Games Workshop even like it? So I think Kill Team, now doesn't make sense, and I don't think it aligns with Games Workshop's plans and goals, right? I have a bit of I sound like a bit of a nut job conspiracy theory, but I think Games Workshop know or believe that they made a mistake with Kill Team to an extent, because I think Kill Team was probably more popular than they expected, and I think they may have initially been happy about that. But I personally believe that they think, and I think possibly correctly, that if you have Kill Team being so popular as a skirmish, small scale version of 40k, they might think, well, yeah, that's a great way of people getting into 40k. Great. Oh, but what happens if they just don't get into 40k and they just play Kill Team because it's a better game? Oh, I didn't think about that. That's interesting. Just going back, I think this new book will probably be updated. Like, it might be that every model, maybe it's like maybe it is like a 2.0, that every model gets like slightly tweaked rules that update to the new edition, because that's why people thought we were going to get Kill Team 2.0, is because there's been a new edition. Anyway, going back to Kill Team as a whole, so I look at it this way: do Games Workshop want a game that is like hindering people getting into their big game because it's so much better in some ways? The games take a quicker, it's not necessarily better, but the games will fit a lot of people because you only need 10 models. It's not as expensive, the games are quicker, that kind of thing. So if they have a game that's so good at like a skirmish level that they think, oh, people might not get into full-blown 40k, therefore maybe we shouldn't have this skirmish game. And for a large part, if you buy a box of Space Marines, Games Workshop can't tell if it's for Kill Team or if it's for 40k. Not that they necessarily care, but they'd rather you buy a full army So I personally believe, and I've said it probably till I'm blue in the face, that Kill Team being so popular, and they can tell that because that people were buying the rule books and stuff like that, and they released, obviously the expansions were already planned, but I think the expansions, that was all planned years before it came out. They did that, and then they realized it was popular, and then they were like, what do now? Especially considering the fact that the new edition of 40k has Combat Patrol. Now, Combat Patrol basically, I think, essentially replaces Kill Team in concept and the minds of a large part of the audience, because it's less models, it's cheaper and quicker, basically, which is the reasons why you might play Kill Team. Well, obviously the rules are different, don't get me wrong. I know that they play differently. I know that, Kill Team is more I go, you go, and 40k is like I do everything, you do everything kind of thing. But to Games Workshop, I think they would prefer you have like 500 points of Combat Patrol and you're playing that in your 1 hour gaps, your 1 hour breaks, or what have you, rather than play Kill Team. And the reason being, I think they believe that you will then escalate more into 2,000 points of Kill Team, of 40k. I think they'd rather you spend, your 400 points on £400 on an army versus like, 50 quid on a Kill Team and then 50 quid on another Kill Team, and maybe that's it. So I think, like, for me, I think the positioning of Kill Team is not unsustainable, but I think they made an incorrect business choice to some extent. I think Kill Team shouldn't have been using the 40k models. It shouldn't have been using the 40k units. It should have been using like special units, exactly like Warhammer Underworlds, right? So I believe Warhammer Underworlds, where you buy like, you buy like a warband and it's got the models in it, and that's what you use. If Kill Team did that, and the game didn't necessarily play like a smaller scale 40k, they then could have separated the sales. They could have made the game different enough. But having this, it was a little bit too close to 40k in a sense, and you used all the same models and stuff like that. I don't see why Games Workshop would want to move people into skirmish games versus their full scale games. They have no. It's not that they have no competition, but they don't want to compete against themselves in that way. Like they compete against themselves in a lot of ways, but their main 2 games, 40k and Age of Sigmar, are big war games, and they want it to stay like that, right? Because that's how they make the most money. Yes, sure, with a skirmish game, you could say, well, maybe they'll get more players. Games Workshop are like, wow, we're making enough money as it is. Why are we going to bother trying to get a skirmish game out there? So I think they made a strategical mistake to some extent. Yes, Kill Team sold really well and is super popular, but I think it was sort of counterintuitive for them a little bit. And I think Games Workshop have essentially realised that. And if they just send you the new, like they slightly update the points and stuff like that and give you new rules for new models, I mean, it's not exactly like the greatest of Kill Team content, if you could even call it that necessarily. So like, it's just stuff they were making for 40k, and they're like, well, you can use it in Kill Team. Go on, it's fine. I worry about Kill Team because it's sort of the game I would have wanted to have been playing consistently if Games Workshop had supported it in the right way. For me, I was out straight away when they started making so many expansions, and I was like, well, you've got no like consistent format here and stuff like that. But yeah, I strongly believe that it's a conspiracy theory, but I think the logic of it is, it makes sense. Like, why do they want to compete with essentially the same game? It's the same models. The playstyle, like the rules are sort of similar enough, like the mechanics. It's I go, you go versus, you do everything, I do everything. But it's similar enough. To an outsider, like the games are very, very similar. And to a new player, I can see why people would pick Kill Team. In fact, people are recommending like start with Kill Team and then go into 40k. So why, sure, that's good if you then go into 40k. But if you stuck with Kill Team, Games Workshop are like, they might have bought 2,000 points worth of Space Marines. And now we've just let them get away with a £25 box. This is an outrage to my profit margin. So let's not be around the bush. Games Workshop's plan and goal is ultimately to make as much money as possible. They are doing that by selling models and rules, and they are doing that the most with 40k. Anything that hurts that and gets in the way of that, I think they deem as like a problem. So Kill Team having a new expansion, fine, but it doesn't feel like a new expansion. It feels like we're just porting something over from 40k into Kill Team. Now, it's not even a game I play. Like I said, I was out ages ago, but I want Games Workshop to have a really good competitive skirmish game for time and space and cost reasons. And they just don't quite do it consistently or good enough for me, but it is what it is. Anyway, I've rambled a bit there. You can believe me or not believe me, but that's what I believe. Conspiracy theory or not. Have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.